It's food, though.
You have like a glass of Kryptonian wine. Like, what will that do to your stomach?
Will you even be able to pee it out?
It just like solidifies in your bowels and you die.
Yeah. These are the philosophical questions that we need to answer.
This is what we're here for. We need answers.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, okay. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of the Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello and happy Saturnalia, Ryan.
Hello and happy Saturnalia, everybody.
Woo woo.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm doing great too, because we just watched the bath item gift hypothesis.
I'm so pumped for this episode. The first note I have is Christmas trees in the first scene. I'm like, it's fucking Christmas, yes!
That's what we've been waiting for, and I didn't want to spoil anything, because you kept asking me. I was like, oh, is there going to be a holiday episode? Is there going to be a holiday episode?
Is it Christmas yet? Is it Christmas yet?
And here we are.
Here we are.
Well, for any new listeners out there, I'm Rob, and this is my co-host Ryan. We are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from the Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. I've seen the series multiple times, and this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. So Ryan has also been told that he's been similar to being Sheldon, so we keep a point tally of how close he is to being a Sheldon. Any updates?
I do have an update. This is not part of the episode, but I feel like I have to include it because I was teaching the other day, and my class actually stopped me and said, do you know who you remind us of? And I'm like, no, who? And they go, Leonard from Big Bang Theory. Really? I go, you know what? That's a point for Leonard if I ever heard one. It might not be in an episode, but my students said it. And I said, funny you should say that because I'm keeping a list. I am like...
Did you tell them about the podcast?
Yes, I did.
Oh, nice. So, oh my God, you should like... You should tell them that you'll give them extra credit if they give us a 5-star review. You want that extra credit, don't you?
You want those points because I want some stars.
Yeah. Seriously, though.
Seriously, yeah, no, you're all gonna fail. So.
I will fail you. Well, that's great. Wait. So, what's the tally at now? If you're like a Leonard.
So with that one, 51 to 45. 51 being like other people, 45 being like Sheldon.
Nice. You're drifting away further and further.
This one, there's a few points. Things get a little more interesting.
Okay,
I think last episode things were a little bit in favor of Sheldon too, but there's like 1 or 2 episodes that were just like heavy the other direction. So, you know, it could catch back up. It's like the stock market. We're in for the long run.
It's my 401k right here.
Yeah, exactly.
So what'd your students say? Did they specifically say what? Like, did they give you any examples?
No, I can't remember what we were talking about. I was so shocked that they even said it. Or that
they talk about it for them all enough to, like, agree on it.
Yeah.
They talk about you on their spare time. You must be a really mean teacher. All right, so a little bit more housekeeping. Follow the link on our show notes to get all of our social media. We even have a whole list of all the IQ points that we've discussed on there as well. Still needs a little bit of love. I need to backtrack and add some of the timestamps and the reference and like our bibliography, I guess, our sources. But I'll get to that at some point.
We got some summer projects this summer.
Yes.
Even though we're celebrating Saturnalia, like in the middle of summer, we're going to have
Saturnalia in June.
June, yeah.
When this comes out, yeah.
It's that halfway point, right? Halfway to Christmas.
Yep. Oh, we're also about halfway into the season too, as well.
Yeah.
We'll follow us on Instagram at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and send us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. And all these links are in the show notes. And if you give us a 5-star review, we'll give you a shout out. So no new reviews, but we did get an email. We got an email from, well, it was so long ago because we took a little bit of a break in recording. So no lapse to our viewers, but for us, we got a little bit of a head because I just got back from Mexico. And I lived to tell the tale. But we got an email from Michelle. So I don't know if you remember this email, so it was a while ago.
I don't. I don't even remember who you are.
I'm Leonard.
Hi, Leonard. I don't know.
Well, Michelle wrote to us. Yeah, because it was back at the beginning of May, like when we yeah. So she wrote a nice email. She says, "Howdy guys, my name is Michelle and I really enjoy your podcast. I have been a big fan of The Big Bang Theory since its first episode. I have a son with Asperger's and have always felt like this show was about him. He is now in college studying music composition and is very much like Sheldon. He has perfect pitch, so I know he at least gets a point for that. He is also very intelligent." And then she says, "I think the reason that I like this show so much is because I associate with so many aspects. I am from East Texas, the daughter of a football coach, and have worked in higher education at a major Texas university. I understand research processes and what it's like to be around distinguished professors. I currently am a traveling nurse, and I do 13-week contracts in different hospitals around the country. If you ever need any information regarding medical things on the show, I am at the ready, especially for pronunciations of medical terminology. Michelle, we will definitely hold you to that."
Yeah. We can't even get amygdala correct.
Nope.
Amygdala. Amygdala.
And she goes on to say that her specialty is labor and delivery. And while I am home in Texas, she is a birth assistant in a home birth practice, which her mother-in-law is the midwife for. And if there's ever a birthing episode, let her know. So, no spoilers.
There's going to be babies. Well, that's kind of the theme with in every show, like when you get to like season 6 or 7, babies come in. You get Rachel having the baby in Friends. You get the twins in Full House. You get
How I Met Your Mother. There was Lily and Marshall had the baby.
Scrubs had babies.
Yeah. At some point, in 12 seasons, maybe there's going to be a baby or two.
Somebody has to have a baby at some point.
Guess we'll find out. And then she goes on to say, "I believe your podcast is one of the very few that has been able to keep me engaged for a long time. I love the deep dives, and you guys do an excellent job of researching different things. I love learning, and I'm excited to keep learning with you guys. I'm a huge fan of true crime podcasts, and I really loved episode 22 and learning about what happened to you. Keep up the good work, and I will continue to listen, especially when en route to my next traveling nurse assignment. So thank you, Michelle. We appreciate that."
That was very nice. Thank you very much.
So I was thinking, as we assemble our crew, Michelle, I guess you're a medical officer.
Yeah.
I'm Kirk. I guess you're not really Sheldon. You're not officially Sheldon. So
not yet.
Am I Spock? Because I actually might be Spock, because when I was actually going into couples therapy with my now wife, the therapist actually associated me with being Spock and her with being Kirk.
Oh.
She's Kirk because she's the captain of the relationship, and she's definitely more of a free spirit, where I'm a lot more rigid with a lot of things. So I guess I'll be Spock. And you know what? Your students said that you're Leonard, so...
For the time being, at least, it works.
So we just need a guy that dies all the time.
Was your counselor really into Star Trek? What a weird comparison.
I didn't ask because the session's about me. So I ain't gonna ask about you. All right. So, on that note, a neighbor update, which Michelle said that she really enjoyed. I have no updates at this point.
No updates.
Nothing's really going on. Yeah. So, on to the episode.
Season 2, Episode 11.
Do you want to talk overall thoughts first, or just dive in?
I think my thoughts are pretty clear already. It's a Christmas episode,
great one.
It's going to be hard to make a Christmas episode. It's possible, but it's hard to make a Christmas episode bad.
Yeah. I will say I loved the episode, and I loved the IQ points, because a lot of it, I found a couple things that disprove what things were said in the episode, where it's kind of like, that's actually not true. So
I found a couple of those too. I didn't have a whole lot of IQ points, but I found a couple that were kind of true, and kind of some that were maybe questionable.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so Season 2, Episode 11, The Bath Item Gift Hypothesis. This aired December 15th, 2008. Director Mark Sandrowski. Writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Stephen Engel. So we begin with the cafeteria, and underline, I have Christmas trees in the background. I'm like, yes. And at first I was like, they didn't make it clear it was Christmas, so I'm like, I'm hoping maybe they're just decorations for the school or something, but it wasn't until Penny comes in later and says I have presents that they mention it's actually Christmas. So I was hoping from the beginning. They are discussing how to clean Superman's outfit, and from my understanding, Superman's outfit is from his home planet, so it's indestructible, right? Even his cape, as I remember, is like his blanket that he was in his capsule. And so it's all pretty indestructible. And the question is, how do you clean stuff from this indestructible material? And Sheldon's claiming you fly through the sun, because when you fly through the sun, it will burn off any impurities and it will be clean again. And they bring up, well, what if he spills something on it? A Kryptonian mustard, if you will. And they get into the discussion of there's no more Kryptonian mustard left. The planet blew up, so that's not going to happen. And they start talking about pit stains, right? They're going into what if he's on another planet and builds up a sweat during a workout, get some pit stains going, starts sweating, and how is he going to clean those up? Because once he gets back to Earth, it's going to be his Kryptonian sweat in a Kryptonian outfit. Impossible to clean. And I did a little research on this, a little IQ point about pit stains. And this is one that I'm not sure they have completely correct, because we are going to assume, and I looked at a number of websites, and the reason I started looking at this is because I really like soap. I like trying new soaps. I have some soap companies I think I've mentioned in previous episodes that I like trying new soaps, new fragrances, all sorts of stuff. And one big thing is with these soap companies, they often have natural deodorants. And regular deodorants typically have aluminum in them and different chemicals. And according to theguardian.com and thompsonstea.com, there's a number of other websites too. They talk about how the aluminum and other chemicals mix with the salts of your sweat, and that goes into making the pit stains. So in theory, if you didn't have the aluminum and chemicals of deodorant, you wouldn't get the pit stains. Sweat itself is not enough to do it. It's the chemical interaction that causes it. And so it potentially, if Superman was not wearing deodorant at all, or wearing a natural deodorant, in theory, he wouldn't have to worry about that at all. And a little tidbit, apparently, if you do worry about pit stains, they say don't bleach your whites, that it will make pit stains worse. They also say clean it ASAP. The longer you let it sit, pit stains will set in and they'll be harder to get out. They say try new deodorants. Like I was saying, the deodorants without the aluminum, or actually the aluminum is an antiperspirant. So if you're using just a deodorant, I think, or a natural antiperspirant, that is typically where you will start seeing changes with pit stains. They also get into changing your diet, less caffeine, less alcohol, different supplements. And they also say shaving your armpits. That if you have moist armpits, I guess, the perspiration apparently builds up around hair and can cause it to be damper, where if you have hairless armpits, it evaporates more quickly, I guess. And so some things, but my guess is, I don't know. I don't think Superman's wearing axe or degree. I don't know what Superman would be wearing.
He would probably smell very good on his own, I would imagine.
Right? Yeah, I think that's part of his yellow sun superpowers. Yeah, he doesn't need it. So
it's Superman. Everything about him is super. He super smells good too.
Super smelly in a good way. Super smelly man.
Yeah, constantly smells like Febreze.
Wow, is that Febreze? No, I just farted. Oh, Superman.
Superman's perfect. That was always my issue with him growing up. It's like, dude, he's too perfect.
Too perfect.
Too easy. Like, he's too perfect of a superhero.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Sheldon says, well, if he were on another planet and did develop or worry about pit stains, he would just have the suit dry cleaned on Kandor. And they decide that they cannot have an argument with Sheldon, that it's too preposterous. And this is where David comes in. In the background, a man enters. And...
Well, before that, I actually have an IQ point on Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I actually did a little bit of more research because I was actually kind of curious because, like, not being the biggest Superman fan, like, I've watched casually. I've seen, like, the movies, like, growing up. I watched the cartoon. I watched, like, the Justice League and stuff like that. It kind of got me thinking. I was like, that's actually, I've never really put that much thought into it about, like, his super suit and everything like that, how it's, like, never really gets torn and everything like that. Yeah. And it kind of got me wondering, it's like, in the canon of the comics, has it never been torn? Has it never been ripped apart? Has it never, like, ever? So I started doing a little bit of research on if at any point in the comics has he had to clean it? Was there a scene depicting him cleaning it? Was there a scene depicting it being ripped or torn apart?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. I could not find it. If it did happen, it's very buried and no one has mentioned it, at least on all of my web searches. But then it got me more. I fell down, like, the rabbit hole of, like, more about, like, Superman and everything like that. So I was also wondering, I was like, well, has he ever sweat? Did they actually have, like, that too? So I found that all this information amongst multiple sites, sci-fi.stackexchange.com and cbr.com and screenrant.com. So Superman's body is invulnerable, as they're discussing, and all they agree, which means that he doesn't suffer from overheating. So no, he does not sweat.
So he doesn't even sweat?
No, apparently not.
Huh.
And if he does, it's never been depicted in the comics. So, and then more on cleaning himself through the sun and everything. So in the 70s and 80s, Superman has cleaned and decontaminated himself and his suit by flying through the sun. So, just like what they said, the comics have depicted him doing this. And this occurred in All-Star Superman. But apparently, according to the website that I found this, it's not canon to the DC universe.
Oh, that's a big thing. Is it canon or not?
Yeah, but otherwise it doesn't seem like it's been mentioned. And then I looked into, like, the whole, like, indestructibility of his suit. And yes, it's, as they said, his suit is indestructible, as answered in Batman/Superman World's Finest, number 7. So in that, Clark's heat vision caused a house fire. And after the fire went down, they discovered amongst all the wreckage, the fabrics that baby Kal-El had been wrapped in were untarnished. Realizing this, Martha sewed his costume out of that fabric. So, and I found it kind of weird. And then I deep dove into this further. It was like, well, how could she sew it if she can't cut it? If it's indestructible, how do you cut it?
Put a pin through it, right?
Yeah, but apparently they actually addressed this. She unwove it and then rewove it into his suit. which still takes some mad skills.
Unweaving a form of destruction, though?
Well, but if it's all, but I guess if you're not tearing the thread, though, all you're doing is, because like when you weave it, it's just, it's like braiding.
Oh, yeah.
So then you're just undoing it. But then for her to like weave it perfectly into a suit without any odd, you'd think that there'd be like a longer sleeve or something like that.
Yeah. One pant leg's like folded around.
Yeah.
Like I messed up a little bit there.
Yeah.
But... okay, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm looking it up now, and I remembered this, and I could be wrong, or it might not be canon, but go ahead and Google Death of Superman when he fights, what's his name?
Doomsday.
And there are several pictures of Superman, his wardrobe being ripped apart.
I didn't read this one, but is this just like the movie Batman vs. Superman, where Doomsday was Kryptonian?
Maybe that's what it is. Is Doomsday Kryptonian? That's got to be what it is.
So it's like, something Kryptonian can destroy something Kryptonian.
I never saw the movie, and I've only seen pictures of the comic, but I'm like, wait, I've seen him halfway naked somewhere. This is standing out of my brain.
I know. All I do is picture Henry Cavill. Shirtless. I know Batman vs. Superman got a lot of shit, but I really didn't mind it. Like, it's definitely not great, but it wasn't terrible. Like, it wasn't as... I don't think it deserved the criticisms that it got. It did have, like, the dumb, like, Martha scene, where it's, like, where like, you're probably never going to watch this, but, like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
So Batman and Superman are fighting, and then when Batman is winning and is about to kill him, he stops him or he distracts him by yelling out the name Martha, which makes no sense. It's like, why would Superman call out his own mother's name? But the connection is because Bruce Wayne's mother is named Martha. So they're trying to connect them or like build like a relationship. Like, hey, I have a mother named Martha. You have a mother named Martha. But it didn't make sense how they got to that. So like, there's a lot of film criticism about that scene. Like that kind of did destroy the movie. But then it led into like one of the best Batman fight scenes of all time. The warehouse scene. If anything, just YouTube the Batman warehouse fight scene.
I'm not supposed to watch the whole movie. I'm supposed to watch the warehouse scene. That's all.
Dude, oh my god. That's like one of the best Batman fight scenes of all time.
Have you heard Michael Keaton is supposed to be reprising his role as Batman?
Yeah.
I believe in The Flash, right?
In The Flash, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about that. I like that.
Yeah. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
He's Batman.
Yeah. All right, so let me double check my notes to see if that's all. Oh yeah,
that's all the IQ for that point.
Not quite.
Not quite. Here's some more IQ for you.
Yeah. So moving on with Superman's suit. So after Crisis on Infinite Earths, his costume was indestructible, but that was because of his own powers. In this new continuity, his powers created a special aura around him that extended millimeters off of his skin. So any skin-tight clothing would be protected as well.
Of course it would.
Yeah. But what about his cape? So that I don't know. And then in the New 52, it was Kryptonian armor that morphed around his body. But then at some point it changed back into Kryptonian fabrics. Yeah. So it kind of flip-flopped around in the storylines, but overall, in general, it is Kryptonian fabric that makes it indestructible.
I think there's a good argument to be had. If there's Kryptonian mustard, what will happen?
But okay, here's my thing. What does it matter if it's Kryptonian mustard or not? Because if you're cleaning a liquid off of a thing by just adding water to it, wouldn't it just dissolve anyways? What does it matter if it's Kryptonian? It's not like because it's Kryptonian mustard, it's like a blotch of steel.
I think this is a question of...
If you take Kryptonian food and bring it to Earth, is it indestructible as in you can't even eat it? Like you'd bite it and break your jaw?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So it's like... If any nerds are out there, please let us know. Has anybody ever thought about this? Like, it's food, though.
You have, like,
so,
a glass of Kryptonian wine. Like, what will that do to your stomach?
Will you even be able to pee it out?
It just, like, solidifies in your bowels and you die.
Yeah. These are the philosophical questions that we need to answer.
This is what we're here for. We need answers.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, if he has a pit stain or if he has Kryptonian mustard, just run it through the wash. Wouldn't the wash just wash it off? It's like washing things off of a car. It's not like you just wash it off.
At what point does a stain become part of the item, though? When the molecules, like, at some point, like, do they ever, like, I mean, you can't wash them off at some point,
because the
right?
Kryptonian mustard will get hard and get crusty, and basically turn into a suit of armor in itself.
And we're talking about, like, microparticles being interwoven with the weaves of his fabric.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know.
But that was my whole thing. So it's like, okay, I love that you guys are taking this comical conversation and making it very serious. That's one thing that I love about it, because I love stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, wouldn't it just wash away?
I think that's as fair as anything.
Or am I the idiot?
I stick with it that I'm guessing his sweat's probably a natural cleanser, so it's naturally cleansing his suit as he works out.
It is Superman, after all.
Superman.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Enough Superman. Moving on.
Let's get to David, who's also
David. That's a good-looking dude.
It's not bad. He's not bad. And so apparently he's won a MacArthur Prize for high-energy positron research, providing evidence for galactic dark matter. And this is where my second IQ point comes in. Did you do a little research on this one?
I did research on multiple things on all this. So I did what is the MacArthur Genius Grant. And then I also did what is a photomultiplier lab and how is it used to find dark matter.
Ooh.
So you did dark matter?
So I did the whole concept of high energy positron providing evidence for galactic dark matter.
All right.
And how this could be done, or at least to my understanding. So let me do mine, because I kind of dumbed it down for myself to try to make it make sense, and I want to see if it bounces off yours, because it seems like you have more. Use bigger words.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. So my understanding, according to rochester.edu, positrons are basically very, very small particles with the same mass as electrons, but they have positive charges. So electrons are the things that go around atoms, not in orbits, but in clouds. And they're very, very small and have negative charges. Positrons are same size of particle, but positive charges. Dark matter is this kind of theoretical matter in the universe that we don't completely understand. We can't see it, but according to gravitational influences, it's suggested that there's matter out there that exists that we just can't see. And this theory is that dark matter is this massive particle that can interact and decay to make electrons, positrons, and gamma rays. So according to my understanding, scientists have used equipment to experiment, and they basically collect gamma rays as gamma rays disintegrate, annihilate, decay into particles, and then recreate into gamma rays, and then kind of recreate into particles, diluting themselves into lower energy particles. And the scientists kind of collect these particles and see where they are as they enter the atmosphere and hit Earth. And by collecting these, they're able to see what's coming down from space and then kind of piece these particles back together and backtrack like a puzzle and see where they came from and, their energy. And they are kind of finding out that it's not coming from nearby pulsars or stars. It's likely coming from dark matter, that there is this other matter in the universe that we're not seeing that is causing these significant amounts of energy of gamma rays and particles coming into the Earth's atmosphere. And yeah, that's about all I have for it. That's my understanding, is that backtracking and saying there's nothing else it could be. So it gives evidence, again, not proof, but evidence that there's dark matter in the universe.
Yeah, I found something along that lines too, but it's a little different because it seems like the equipment that I researched, the photomultiplier lab, finds the evidence differently.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's really interesting. But where should we start? How about we carry on with that? Since we're on the same topic, we'll go into what's so jumping ahead in the storyline. David is there because he wants Leonard's help to use the photomultiplier lab.
Yeah.
So they want to examine the radiation levels of the photomultiplier tubes for the new dark matter detector. So, what's a photomultiplier lab and how is it used to find dark matter? So, I found this on Wikipedia, space.com, and energy.gov. So, photomultiplier tubes have multiple uses in terms of astronomy and the medical field. But for this topic, since we're going into like dark matter, I'm only gonna stick with how it's used to find dark matter and its relationship to astronomy. So first off, as to piggyback off you, what is dark matter? It's the mysterious substance that actually makes up what they theorize as 85% of the total mass of the universe. It doesn't interact with matter and light like everyday matter that is made up of protons and neutrons that fill stars, planets, and us. To this point, we have actually not found physical dark matter, merely evidence of its existence. So theories of dark matter have been around since the early 1930s. So in order to, in quote, see dark matter, astronomers must rely on its interaction with gravity. And according to Einstein's theory of relativity, objects with tremendous mass cause a curvature of space-time. When this happens to large objects, like a galaxy, it causes the light to bend and shifts the light source in the sky, which is called gravitational lensing. And then to study the distribution of dark matter in a galaxy, astronomers can observe how light from the source behind a galaxy that is changed as it passes the lens galaxy. So the more dark matter a lens galaxy contains, the greater distortion of the light passing it. And this is where they use the photomultiplier tubes to measure that light source and radiation. So photomultiplier tubes are extremely sensitive detectors of light in the ultraviolet, visible, and near-infrared ranges of the electromagnetic spectrum. So that's kind of how they're using it. They're looking at the galaxies far away and how the bending of light kind of happens, and the photomultiplier actually captures that light.
Because the light's going to curve going inwards to where the gravitational pull's coming from.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, so this information of the photomultiplier tube is, this was the way to do it up until around 2020. So I didn't see anything that photomultiplier tubes measured radiation. So Big Bang Theory was bringing this up as like a theoretical thing at the time, since this was back in 2008.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And now in 2023, it seems the best way to detect and map dark matter is through cosmic microwave background, measuring the ancient radiation and light source with a radio telescope. So like things have changed, but back in 2008, when they were actually researching it, what they were doing was like a real thing. So David and Leonard were actually on the right path of discovering and detecting dark matter.
But it just wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the MacArthur Prize?
Onward to the next IQ points. So the MacArthur Genius Grant is a real award. So this is from pbs.org and Wikipedia. This is the annual award from the MacArthur Fellows Program, also known as the MacArthur Fellowship. Each year, there are about 20 to 30 winners, and they win between $625 to $800,000 from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. And it could be any field who have shown, in quote, extraordinary originality and dedication in their creative pursuits and a marked capacity for self-direction, and are citizens or residents of the United States.
How much do they win?
A lot. Somewhere between 625 to 800,000. That's and 20 to 30 winners.
More science, or
no? Can they just get it?
Go blow it on strip clubs and
motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could. Yeah.
Cool.
It's just an award for them for being awesome.
Just, you're so cool. Have some money. All right, then.
And here's another thing. There are no applications for this honor, but they only accept anonymous and confidential nominees. So you can nominate someone, and then that they are reviewed by a committee.
You have to know a guy who knows a guy.
Pretty much.
Oh, shit.
So topics that this foundation focus on are climate solutions, criminal justice, nuclear challenges, and on Nigeria, which is efforts to reduce the corruption in Nigeria. So it's kind of a big deal that he won this award. It's actually it sounds like it's like this huge honor.
Yeah. I've heard of it before. I just, I really didn't know anything about it. So
yeah, I didn't know it was a real thing until I looked into it. I kind of just, like when you just watch a show, you hear it like, okay, that's cool.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for anyone out there, it's a real thing.
It's like Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, I'm sure that's real.
Yeah. And then before we go into the credits and everything, I do want to give the shout out to the guest star alert, because I looked him up and everything like that.
I was going to. I forgot.
So I only find this interesting because Dr. David Underhill is played by Michael Trucco. He's in a lot of TV shows, and most notably Battlestar Galactica. Oh. Yeah, so I think that's another reason why they probably got him into it, because I started watching Battlestar long ago, but it was so long ago, I don't even remember seeing him. That's the funny thing, is I don't remember.
But I haven't watched it. I have it on Blu-ray. And it's kind of sitting there. It's just never gotten the time to pick up and start watching it.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of a meta thing, where it's we got it's a show about nerds who love stuff like Battlestar Galactica, and we got one of the actors. So I like stuff like that. A
nerd who loves Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Well, most notably, I recognize him from How I Met Your Mother.
Mm.
Yep.
Who was he in that?
He is in the later seasons, season 7 or something. He was Robin's boyfriend for a little bit.
Oh, I'm gonna look this up.
He played. He was trying to be a TV chef.
Oh yeah. See, I'm getting a little confused with the guy from Buffy now.
Oh, the guy who went on to play Angel?
No, her second Giles, her second mentor.
Oh, really? Alexis Beninoff?
Yeah, because he was in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, who's also married to the Allison Hannigan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow, so many connections today.
They met on Buffy and they ended up getting married.
Huh. See, these people know people. We just need to know some people, and we can start winning awards and making connections.
Yeah.
David Underhill introduces himself, and they decide to do some experiments together. And Litter says, "What? You've never seen a hypocrite?" He's kind of turned back on his words now that David, who is smarter, better looking, more athletic, he's like the perfect guy. And
I feel like I would be like that too, where it's you see someone who's you're superior in every way, and you're like, ugh,
it's not
forget this guy, whatever, loser, whatever. And the moment he starts talking to me, I'm like, hey man, what's up?
Man, it's so cool.
No, I'm not cool. You're cool.
Congrats on that prize. So we get the introduction, and then we are in the apartment, and they are playing Wii Bowling. And Leonard comes in and messes Howard's turn up. Howard asks for a do-over. Sheldon says, "Hey, Leonard, where were you? That was more important than bowling night." Rhetorical question. Nothing's more important than bowling night. And I have to ask, did you like Wii Bowling? A lot of people loved it when it came out. I hated it.
Oh, I loved it.
I was so
I loved the mini
bad at it.
games. I thought the game itself was a little too easy, but that's why I liked all the side games. So they had a bunch of side games that where it's like rather than like your normal 10 pins, there'd be like 100 pins, and there'd be like 1,000 pins and stuff like that. So that was the fun stuff.
You know, I was more into
the tennis was fun.
I was gonna say I was into the tennis. I'm not a real big tennis person because I'm not coordinated, but for Wii, they made it work for me. I was okay with that. But the bowling, I just shit, it was bad. And I'm bad with bowling in real life too, but
I thought like once you find like you could just sit on the couch and just like you can even cast it upside down.
That like the friends I was playing with were just like boop and like strike. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Oh man, I was terrible. I don't know. Anyways, they agree that they suck at it too, and Leonard admits that, or Leonard discusses that he has been out with his new best friend, David, and he starts bragging about David being a black diamond skier, having a motorcycle.
Well, he's Dave now. He doesn't call him David. He's close enough to call him Dave.
And he's in a rock band. And I wanted to point out, this isn't an IQ point, but he says black diamond skier, but I've never known that to be a big deal. I've been a black diamond skier most of my life, and it's the double black diamonds where things get real sketchy.
Wait, why have you and I never gone skiing together?
We tried one time, and something bad happened. Like it started raining, and we had to cancel.
I was gonna say, it's like, man.
I remember going and like starting to go and like being like, this isn't good weather, and finally we're like, yeah, we're not gonna do today.
Okay. Dang, I should have hit you up more often. There was a point where I was like, I had the Snoqualmie season pass. I was going up like almost every day for a while.
Wow, I remember you having the season pass. I didn't know you were going up that much, but I remember you having the season pass.
It was kind of awesome because I'd just go after, because it was a time when I was working like 5 to 1 or 6 to 2. So I just like just hop on the 90 and just go.
Just go straight there.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Like right after work, don't even go home and get a couple good hours in and go home, sleep like a baby. But yeah, you know it. Black diamonds. Are you thinking that's very? I mean, they're not for beginners, but it's not like
I'm not that good.
They're not that good. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but
I stick with the greens and then I go with the blues if I feel a little risky.
I like the slopes that have bunny in the name. Bunny.
Yeah.
Bunny Orchard.
I usually stick with those, but I'm not bad, but I'm not the biggest risk taker either. So it's kind of like, I know that's how you get better. I know that's how you kind of just got to go for it.
And it's been a while since I've skied, so I probably want to get right back on a black diamond. But I remember growing up, and man, like you said, I didn't used to be a big risk taker, but skiing was like the only thing that's ever come semi-naturally to me. And I used to do some dumb stuff skiing, and it was fun, but it was like, now I'd be like, no, I would never do that. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a different time. I don't. Anyways, he's a black diamond skier, but again, double black diamonds. I have gone down at least one, maybe a couple, and those are, I mean, they have names like the Wall, the Cliff, Dead End Alley, and stuff, and those get kind of sketch.
You're gonna die here on this mountain.
You're gonna die here right now.
Yeah, that's the craziest name I've ever seen.
Bunny style. Oh, well, there's a bunny in it. It's got to be okay.
I guess I'm gonna take it.
You're gonna die, little bunny.
Sorry, I accidentally pulled out my my wire.
Oh.
Damn wires. All right, sorry.
All right, sure. So Howard says, that's not a big deal. We're in a rock band. And of course, Leonard says, no, we play Rock Band on Xbox. So pretty big
great
difference.
Game.
I was bad at that one too. I was terrible.
Oh, so good. Well, it's because Guitar Hero came out, and then this was like the next step where you get the drums and the singing. And was it 2 guitarists? Was it 2 guitarists, drums, and a singer?
I think you might have been able to add in a different guitar or a second guitar, but I think my set only had 1 guitar.
Is there a triangle? Is there a triangle hero?
I'm going to say yes. Tambourine hero.
I'd play that. I'd be good at that. Actually, no, I have no rhythm, so I'd be bad at that too.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I have no rhythm, and I am got no pitch. I am tone deaf to some degree, I guess. So I think that probably played into it, but I don't know. I'm not great at playing guitar, but I can play guitar in real life. But playing it on Guitar Hero or Rock Band, like, I sucked. I mean, I was a golden god at bowling compared to Rock Band. So Leonard says that David is so funny too, and he has a joke about Stephen Hawking having phone sex, and he tries to do it and nobody laughs, and he goes, Dave does it much better. And they say, okay, it's official, he has a bromance.
Yep.
Good for him. And then Penny finally enters, and we have the official giveaway that this is Christmas, because she has presents with her, and she asks if they're going to have a Christmas tree so she can put her presents under it, or if she should keep them. And this is where Sheldon chimes in and says they do not have an Xmas tree because they do not celebrate Saturnalia. And we get IQ point for me, and 1 point for being like Sheldon, because I have my own little Christmas speech. Or should I say Saturnalia?
Is it anti-Christmas or anti? Because he seems very anti. Because he's like, well, we don't celebrate that.
I think to some degree it might be a little anti-Christmas, but I think it's pro-Yule. I like Yule.
Okay.
And Saturnalia and Yule, like, my understanding is they are different holidays from different parts of the world, but same time period. I mean, the whole thing is when you had farmers learning to worship stuff, they worship the sun, the stars, and the moon because that's what they knew. And they knew solstices, spring solstice, winter solstice. They knew the equinoxes, the halfway points, and they put holidays around these times, right? So we get stuff like, I always forget summer solstice, but we get Samhain for Halloween, we get Yule for Christmas, we get Imbolc for what we know now as Groundhog's Day. We Easter, Astoria is right, I believe, Astoria, something like that. And each of these, originally at least, were around these days. And again, some of these days are in flux because of the changing cosmos and whatnot. But Christmas basically absorbed Saturnalia and Yule. So I think it's cool. I love talking about it, and I explain to everybody I can about it, which is where my IQ point comes from. So part of the reason I started this was because I know the trees being brought in, not from Roman holidays of Saturnalia, but from Yule. The Yule tree, the Yule log, and in both regards, it is a symbol or a form of magic to celebrate life and life going on through the winter months, to bring life and remember life as everything else in the world is dying off. So that's true. Christmas trees were never a thing. It wasn't until Christianity started conquering the world that they said, okay, we have these huge holidays around winter solstice. we could just outlaw them, or we could absorb them and just say to people, you can keep your traditions, but could you celebrate in our churches? And so people switched churches, but they kept some of the same stuff. The Christmas trees, a lot of the decorations. I know I've heard golden ball glass ornaments, or ornaments that we know now as Christmas tree ornaments, the little spheres, were originally in celebration of the sun and life and golden yellow colors of the future being bright. And now, I remember hearing somewhere that as Christianity was taking over, they're like, we can keep those orbs, but what if we make them red and they can connect with the Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruit? And so we started getting different color ornaments, not just the gold ones. We get this notion of these holidays being about things being chaotic. And maybe chaotic's not the right word, but things being turned upside down. And Saturnalia was known much more for this, where, gambling was illegal, but on Saturnalia, it became legal. And apparently, from what I've seen from Getty.edu and some other websites, apparently they used to gamble not necessarily for money, but for nuts, because nuts were a big part of the food at that time, or for that holiday. We still have like nuts during the holidays, right? So that was a big thing.
That's why we have a nutcracker.
Nutcracker, exactly. The Nutcracker ballet, which wasn't a thing back then, or maybe it was. Who knows? That thing's been around forever. But things were turned upside down. Poor people acted like they were rich. Rich people would act like they were poor. There was a free banquet. People would take off work or close down their shops and have part of this banquet. They gave gifts like candles and wine. They would wear clothes. Apparently they would wear special private dinner clothes like outside to this banquet, because things were just like turned upside down. Homes would declare fake kings of their households, and the fake kings would like give stupid orders, like making insults, shouting randomly, or dancing naked. And the big thing was orgies were also a thing. I think that's more with Saturnalia than Yule, but I could be wrong. But
orgies. If it's I would imagine Saturnalia, because it's more of a Roman thing, and the Romans were really into that stuff.
They really like their orgies.
Romans knew how to live.
And so, Christianity kind of took over, and the orgies went away, but we do still get this notion of stuff being turned upside down to some degree.
Wait. So we could have had Christmas orgies?
We could have had Christmas orgies. Oh, yeah, and all we got were the trees. All we got were trees. Damn it. We never get anything good. But yeah, we get something like A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge is the miser, and he gets put in his place by some ghosts and taught to be better, and he goes out the next day in his pajamas and like gives money freely to everybody. And again, it's kind of this ongoing notion throughout time that this is a time period to be giving and to see things kind of flipped and learn the error of your ways. I could go into more about Yule. I know quite a bit more about that, but we're sticking to Saturnalia for this time, so maybe Yule is for next year.
Yeah, since it's mostly Saturnalia that they talked about, and I guess I pretty much did the same IQ point, because it's basically Saturnalia. Yeah. So I guess to piggyback on to fill in some of the blanks.
Fill in those gaps, yeah.
Yep. So it's Saturnalia because it's named after Saturn, which is the Roman god of agriculture. It actually began as a singular day, but around 133 to 31 BC, it was turned into a week-long festival, starting on December 17th and ending on the winter solstice. And as you said, during Saturnalia, it was like a huge party. Everything's closed. No school, no work, no courts, nothing. And as you said, even the slaves got time off, and in some cases, the masters actually served the slaves. Yeah, like it's kind of like this big party. A lot of gambling. They moved away from their traditional togas and went with other colorful clothing. And its relation to the Christmas tree is that the winter solstice marks the shortest day and the longest night of the year. And many ancient civilizations, which Rome and also Egypt, believed that the sun was a god, and when winter came every year, it's because the sun god had become sick and weak. They would celebrate the solstice because it meant that the sun god would start to feel better and get well. And during this time, evergreen boughs reminded them all that the plants would grow again when the sun god was strong and summer would return. And to mark this occasion, the Romans would decorate their homes and temples with the evergreen boughs. So that's why they started bringing trees and wreaths inside the house. And many of these civilizations regarded the evergreen boughs as a symbol of everlasting life. So the decorations would ward off evil spirits. So it seems like it was more of a celebration of life rather than what Sheldon said of it being magic that would protect the life essence of the plants until spring.
Yeah.
So that this is one of the things that I mentioned where I feel like Sheldon wasn't correct in what he was saying.
It wasn't necessarily, he tried to make it seem like it was pagan, like witchcraft, but it wasn't necessarily.
Not necessarily that. It was a celebration. It was more of a celebration of life.
And you said this, and I forgot to mention it, but I learned something new here, that Saturn as the god of agriculture, I've always known him as the god of time, and apparently he's both, and it makes sense because agriculture grows, dies. He's also the god of renewal, so it's kind of the cycles where things die, go away, then come back, give birth, grow again, and onward and onward. But yeah, apparently agriculture and time.
Nice. I didn't know that.
There's a famous painting by Goya called, what is it? Saturn eating his child, devouring his son. And I love it.
Looking it up now.
Yeah.
Oh my.
You gotta look at this. And it represents time devours all things. That basically no one can escape time.
It's a little bit of nightmare fuel right there.
I know, right? It's awesome.
Yeah. So look this up if you like creepy things, everyone.
Yeah. From what I've heard, and this is off topic, but I've heard that Goya was like a fancy painter who like did portraits of royalty and stuff, and he was really famous, and at some point he lost his mind and started drawing demons like this. And I've heard there's a place called, like, what is it, like he started drawing on his walls, and they're called the Black Walls.
Do I want to look this up?
Oh, it's basically more of the same, and it's just like demons and people like eating flesh and fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. Yeah. Fun Saturnalia stuff.
Exactly. You got it. All right, so yeah, that's how I always remember Saturn. So like Saturnalia and festivities and orgies are not what I think of. I think of Saturn eating his son, but yeah, apparently it's also orgies.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so moving on.
Yep.
Sheldon gets mad because of the precedent set by the present. He will have to get something of equal value for Penny, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. And didn't he go through this over his birthday too?
Yeah. In the peanut reaction, I made a note of that he had the exact same spiel. So very consistent behavior. So
I was kind of surprised that Penny would get him a gift, but then when I saw the gift, I'm not going to ruin it yet, but when I saw it, it made perfect sense. So
yep.
I like it. So
also, this goes into, in his spiel, Sheldon says that he kind of makes a comment like, this is why suicide rates are increased during the holiday.
Yes.
So I did an IQ point on that.
I did too. Your turn.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I got ahead of you.
I didn't do much for it, so you can take this one.
All right. So we also had a very similar IQ point about jobs with the highest suicide rate. If you are interested in hearing that, check out episode 8, which is season 1, episode 8, The Grasshopper Experiment. Check it out. So I found this information on usnews.com, and it's not true. It's a myth. According to researchers, they have actually found a decrease in suicide during the winter months, with December being the lowest. The research has analyzed data for the past 2 decades. The month with the highest suicide rate is actually August. And many newspaper articles still perpetuate that the rates increased during the holidays. But why? Why would they do this? And it could be a number of reasons. So some researchers think that the discussion of suicide during the holidays was meant to have good intentions, to bring awareness of health issues during the holidays. Or maybe it was just misinformation, or more cynically, there's a possibility that articles are fashioned to get maximum attention by going against the grain of good cheer over the holidays. But either way, not true. It's a myth. And as a reminder for anyone, if because we're talking about suicide, if anyone is at risk or knows anybody at risk, remember the suicide hotline is 988. And it's available 24 hours a day in English and Spanish. Anything to add to
I was just going to, kind of back that up. I followed the usnews.com to some of their sources and just wanted to point them out that it was the University of PA Annenberg Public Policy Center that did the information on the newspapers. And that was like the big thing was that not only was this false, but newspapers are responsible, newspapers and media, for perpetuating it, that they just assume it's true. And, I'd say Big Bang Theory is probably one of those examples that they perpetuate it just by assuming and stating it. But they took data from the CDC and they graphed it out. You can find it pretty easily that December is not necessarily the highest. In fact, it's one of the lowest, right, of suicide months. And it's, again, like you said, I'm guessing it's probably cynicism and sensationalizing to sell newspapers, but I'm cynical. So
yeah, I'm cynical too. So I'm on the camp that if it bleeds, it leads. And that's why we don't get a lot of happy news.
Yeah.
And to kind of offset the holiday cheer, they need people to read these articles, so they kind of just make a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's false, they kind of just go with it.
And that's the thing, is that the happy news always comes last, and it's what they call the kicker. You kick off with it, and it leaves people on a positive note, because for 30 minutes, an hour of news, they may just forget that it was all really sad and depressing. And so then you get a dog show and a dog winning an award or something. Old lady with the flower garden.
They need to sprinkle that in between, man.
Right?
You can't just do that at the end. Throw in a kicker every other news report, because right now it's depressing.
I just imagine one anchor does a sad news, the other anchor does a happy news. It's like suicide rates are up and the dog shows are down. Wow.
Yep.
I'd watch that. Okay, so at this point, Raj leans over and whispers to Howard, and they both start laughing, and Howard says it is funny when it's not happening to us. So they've dealt with this. In fact, Howard says that his first Hanukkah with Sheldon, he spent 8 nights getting yelled at by Sheldon. And
well, at this point, I'd say that Raj and Howard should be classified as a bromance.
Yeah,
they're the real bromance. I mean, they're no Joey and Chandler, but they're true. Up there.
Yeah, they're up there.
They're really up there,
especially for sidekicks. Because I feel like Joey and Chandler were I feel like they're more essential to Friends than Raj and Howard are to this. I think the focus are Penny, Sheldon, and Leonard. And not to say they're unimportant, they're still important. But So then Sheldon looks at them and says he needs a ride, and the laughter stops, and they go, "It's happening to us."
Yep.
So they spoke too soon.
Turns on them. That's what karma does.
That's karma. So next scene, stairway. David and Leonard are walking up the stairs, and it turns out that the motorcycle fell on Leonard, and he hurt his foot. And he's pretty lucky. Those things get kind of heavy, right?
I've heard that they're deceptively heavy. I've actually never ridden a motorcycle, but like I've heard about them.
I remember seeing. I was getting gas at this little station by a house I used to live at, and a guy was across the street, and like he came to a complete stop. It was like turning out of a parking lot, and he stopped. And the whole thing just fell down. And it looked like some shiny new piece of Harley equipment. I have no idea what it was. But it just boop down. And he looked at it like, what the fuck? And he pulled it up, and I'm still getting gas. And he comes over, and I think he came over and parked and kind of was checking himself out. I'm like, hey, I noticed you dropped that. Are you okay? And he goes, he like looks at me. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
I was trying to be undetected on that. You weren't supposed to see that.
It's just doop. Like I don't know what happened, but so yeah, deceptively heavy is what I'm guessing. He's lucky that he didn't hurt more, from what I understand. So Penny's coming down the stairs and meets David for the first time, and she laughs because he says he's a physicist. And
I will say it's very funny, his facial reaction the moment he sees Penny. He's like seen an angel. It's like,
right. That's seconding that up when she goes into her apartment, and he's like looking out the door like, wow.
I don't know how you live next to that and not do something.
And this whole scene was really funny. I like her saying most physicists I know are very indoorsy, and Leonard's like, well, I just like sunscreen. And then Leonard's explaining their work, and Penny hushes him, says, shh, David was talking. And I get a point for being like Leonard here, because I can count a number of times where I've been hushed, like trying to explain something important. People are like, hush, Ryan, somebody else is talking. Like let the grown-ups talk. And
David is speaking right now.
Yeah. Because David was speaking. And oh yeah, Penny chimes in saying she loves science. She's Queen of the Geeks, or Queen of the Nerds. Yep. I love that.
She wants to tap that.
Yeah, that's what I am, Queen of the Nerds. It's funny because she kind of is, but
yeah.
And he offers to take her to the lab and go out to eat. So she runs and gets her jacket. And I have to say, I kind of appreciate that David seemed, he's cheating on his wife, or what we find out. He seems respectful to Leonard in the very least. Kind of like, have you and her ever done anything? And Leonard's like,
he followed bro code, but at the same time, he's still burning his wife.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Don't know how to feel about that.
It's Saturnalia. Anything goes. It's an orgy.
It's an orgy. There we go.
Christmas orgy.
Under the Christmas tree.
Under the Christmas tree. You know what they do under the mistletoe? Well, you know what they do under that tree?
Bounce. Wow.
There's a reason there's a skirt around it.
Oh, that's what I should be using it for.
Exactly. All these years.
Years, I've been putting presents on top of it.
It's completely wrong.
Like a big dumb idiot. This is why I don't have a PhD.
Exactly. So, they leave, and Sheldon opens the door, and Leonard falls in. Sheldon goes, what, did you forget your key? And so, kind of ends with Leonard saying, oh no, Penny's going to hook up with David. And then the next scene, they are at the mall. They are at a soap store, and I get a point for being like Sheldon here. I say I love soaps, but I am very sensitive to them. And every time I walk into like a soap store or the perfume section, like having to walk through like, I don't know, Dillard's or Sears or any shop that has a perfume section, like I get a headache almost immediately. It's too much. It's obnoxious to me. So I am with Sheldon. Too
Would you
much.
say that it's an orgy of your
It's
senses?
an orgy of the senses. Not even a good orgy. There's no Christmas tree or skirt on this orgy.
Saturn, what have you done to me?
Too much smell gives me a headache. And they're getting into a fight, Raj, Howard, and Sheldon, over what they should get, what he should get. Penny, they say, you should just go build her a bear. And Sheldon says, no, bears are terrifying. And Howard's like, just give her this one. It's a basket for tension. And Sheldon says, how do you know she has tension? Raj says, she knows you. We all have tension. Basically.
Yep, I like that.
He makes the tension. And Howard tries to say they're ready. Sheldon says, you didn't even think about that. And he goes, well, let me think. Okay, it's the one. There we go. And so he's ready to go. And Sheldon says, no, let me ask an employee. And I get another point being like Sheldon here, and I have a story.
Story time.
Sheldon asking employee about basket gift. It wasn't quite as epic as Sheldon saying, what type of relationship do we have? Are we lovers? Are you my grandmother? But I was at Bed Bath and Beyond. No, not Bed Bath and Beyond. Bath and Body Works one time years and years ago, or we're talking about 15 years ago. And I was with my ex-wife, who was, I think, my girlfriend at the time, even before we were married. And they had a Japanese body spray, and they had two forms, like a body spray or a spritz, and I really liked it. And my ex was like, they're both good, I don't know which one you should get. And so I asked the employee, I'm like, if you were a guy, which one of these scents would you get? And she like looked at my ex, and looks at me, and she goes, I would probably get this, I think it was a spray, the body spray, because it's not as noticeable. And I go, okay, so she's pretty much saying I shouldn't get it because I'm a guy. I got it. I didn't wear it that much. I was a little too intimidated after that. But I did realize that I do go up and ask employees like odd things quite frequently that maybe I shouldn't be putting on their shoulders. But yeah, so one point, like Sheldon asking the employee, and I did laugh out loud when the employee says she was confused and uncomfortable.
Yep.
And they say, sounds like Sheldon and Penny, he'll take it. They'll take it. So it's perfect response. I'm confused and uncomfortable. Next scene, they are in the cafeteria. Penny and David invite Leonard over. Leonard mentions invited Penny to campus to show her around, but she always seems to have yoga. She goes, I've never said that. And he goes, oh, I must have misheard. There's a lot of things that sound like yoga.
Toga.
It is Saturnalia. Togas. Yeah. I've got togas. I can't go. I got togas. David says Penny is very curious and agile in more ways than one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And makes a mention of doing an experiment on tequila shots on a 22-year-old gorgeous woman, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, you saw what that was like last night. So they've been doing some stuff, right?
Yeah, some things went down underneath the tree.
Some things, that tree skirt saw some action. Penny gets the offer to drive the motorcycle, and she says that they say they can't do any worse than Leonard. And he's in the background saying, my leg is killing me, thanks for asking. And that kind of starts the returning joke for the episode.
Yeah.
Back at the apartment, Leonard is on the couch, kind of been out of shape. He's trying to take a nap. His leg hurts. His heart hurts. And the gang enters all with baskets. And I don't know why, but I love the scene because it kind of seemed dreamlike. And I thought it was a dream at first. But no, they each had just like armfuls of baskets. And Sheldon comes in with one little basket and the ice cream cone.
Love that scene.
And Sheldon explains his epic plan that he's going to open Penny's gift first, then he's going to feign digestive distress. He's going to run away, look up the price, and then give her the basket that is most complimentary to that price and return the rest for a full refund.
I think it's a pretty genius idea.
It's except for saying stomach distress. I have digestive distress in the middle of opening up a Christmas present. Although I think that's really funny to say. I gotta go. I gotta poop.
Just to forewarn you, I got the shits. But for the most part, it's a pretty ingenious,
right? Yeah. Just excuse yourself for a second and have it all set up,
and then just return everything.
Yeah. Sheldon asks if he can hide them in Leonard's room, and he mentions the smell makes him nauseated. And so I get a point here for being like Sheldon, or maybe he gets a point for being like me. But he uses this word correctly.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, it's like, didn't you already say like it gives you headaches? But he used nauseated correctly.
Yes. The majority of people say nauseous. The smell makes me nauseous. Nauseous means, I feel like we might have gone over this. I don't see it.
I was going to say, I was like, wasn't this already an IQ point? Can you double up on IQ points?
I'm going to say yes. If they can double up on the jokes, we can double up on the pates.
Done.
Yes, it was episode 17, season 1. So, but I'm going to do it again because why not?
Yeah, because you know what? It's a big deal using that word correctly.
And again, if you didn't hear that episode or you forgot it, nauseous means that something is making you... being nauseous means you make others feel sick. So the smell is nauseous. It makes him feel nauseated. It makes him feel sick. If the smell made him feel nauseous, it's like he would smell it and then make other people throw up by looking at it. And so people misuse this and say, I feel nauseous. And I always say, that's funny. I don't feel like I'm going to throw up when I look at you. But they're like, what? Shut up, Ryan. So it's not that good of a joke. But I give another
because
point.
They're already nauseated.
Nauseated.
And they don't need your sass.
And I say, shut up and laugh.
Be educated and laugh.
Laugh. So he says, or was it Howard, I believe, says, why not just get Penny a new boyfriend like Leonard?
Yeah. Burn.
And of course, Leonard says, my leg is killing me. Thanks for asking. And everybody walks away. Now we're at Penny's apartment, and I have to give 1 point for being like Penny.
Dang, man, you're throwing up points left and right.
This is Saturnalia. Everybody gets a point.
You get a point. You get a point. Everybody gets a point.
I love Christmas decorations. Saturnalia decorations. Her apartment looks more like my house, or even when I had an apartment, I remember going out and getting a live tree and carrying it up 3 flights of stairs just so I could have that Christmas tree in my apartment.
Fun fact, I actually just heard this on another podcast. It's actually more economical and environmentally friendly to get a live tree.
Really?
Yeah, because most tree farms will plant multiple trees for every tree sold. Oh. And then with the fake trees, even though they last a long time, a lot of people don't keep them very long, so they just end up in the landfill. And they're made out of like plastics and aluminums and things like that. So it's a horrible for the environment.
And if they're pre-lit, like those lights and wires can't be great for the environment.
Yeah. So it's actually much better. Like I know a lot of people like don't think this is very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But it's actually better for the environment to get a real tree.
And you know, I also doubled up. Like mine don't end up in landfills. I usually chop them up and burn them. And that kind of goes with the Yule log festivities of, saving that Yule log for the end of the winter and burning it in remembrance and stuff and for good luck. But yeah, and, you know, it's pine, so it's not good firewood, but I like burning it. And a little bit of a tradition there. So
some troll is going to say, well, now you're just polluting the environment with smoke.
Right.
Yeah, can't make everyone happy.
You know what?
I'm beating the troll to the punch.
You know what, troll? Now I'm going to go out, buy the real tree, burn it, and then get a real or fake tree and throw it away each year too.
Double it up.
How do you like Saturnalia.
That, troll? Happy Saturnalia, you troll.
Yeah, troll. Merry Yule. Okay, so she's got the Christmas tree set up. Leonard barges in and starts yelling and complaining, saying that Penny always claimed that he was too smart and that she didn't want to date him because of that. And he mentions David's 10 times smarter. And I like his discussion that we'd have to pound a railroad spike into his brain for him to be able to beat him at checkers. And he goes, compared to David, he's like one of those gorillas signing and asking for grapes, thinking very highly of himself. And then he asks, what's up with that? Like, I just love the way he states that question. What's up with that? And then Penny cries and just love her response. Why are you yelling at me?
It is very shocking for someone to just enter the room and just start screaming at you. So just like, what?
And like, we already see that she's been filling her eggnog up with rum, so we don't know what's going on, but it's not what you're yelling at me.
I love eggnog so much.
Me too.
Oh my God.
I forgot to get any last year. I was so sad. Well, I wasn't even in my house last year. I was getting my floor redone.
Yeah.
And so I was like living with my parents, and that took like, it was supposed to take like up until Thanksgiving. It took like past Christmas. And so that was fun.
Well, there's always next year, or this coming year.
I tell you, there's nothing like having a Saturnalia orgy under a Christmas tree when your parents are upstairs.
With some nog.
Alright, so she goes, David is not smarter than you, to Leonard. And she mentions that he left nude photos of his wife on his phone while trying to take nude photos of her. And Leonard says, he tried to take nude photos of you? And I thought that was funny because that's where my brain was too. Like, wait, what?
I know, it's like, oh my God, he tried to take nude photos of you? It's like, that's what you took from this?
He was married. That's what you took. And Penny asks if he's fine with all this, why is he so jealous? And I like that line. And that's the type of line that I feel like comes out in a Christmas episode because you start to dig into more character emotions and you usually get like kind of this tipping point or realization of emotions. And it might be a while before we see any progress, but we still see a little bit. The important thing is David is married and that's terrible. And she offers him nog. He goes, no, I can't because of the lactose. And she goes, it's stopped being nog about 30 minutes ago. It's just rum. And so he takes a drink and says smooth. And she's like you. And he goes, it's Xmas, it's Christmas, just give me this one. And she says, okay, gives him a kiss and a hug. Merry Christmas. And he goes, my leg is killing me again. Thanks for asking. Which I don't get why he says, because he just got a kiss from her and she's giving it to him. So
I know, being all snarky when you just got a kiss.
Yeah.
But that was a very cute interaction, though.
Yeah, I like that. And now it's the final scene, or we're getting into the final scene. Or it is the final scene. And it's Christmas Day in the apartment. Penny comes in and asks about the leg. And he goes, it's good. Thanks for asking. Finally,
yep.
And Sheldon comes out and he's ready. He's like, oh, Penny, I'm ready for the gifts. And mentions, but I have to warn you, I have had some digestive distress, right?
Yep.
And he opens the gift and he's like, a napkin? And she's like, turn it over. To Sheldon, live long and prospered, Leonard Nimoy. And just floors Sheldon. He falls down on the couch, on the seat, right? And
the greatest gift of all time.
Right? And I think this is the first time we really see his devotion to Leonard Nimoy that you've mentioned in the past.
I think so, yeah.
But as far as him being kind of knocked back with the essence of Leonard Nimoy, this was kind of the first one that I remember seeing. And she goes, I'm sorry, it's dirty. He used it to wipe his mouth. And Sheldon's like even more shocked. And he goes, I have his DNA. I could make my own Leonard Nimoy clone. And I was going to do an IQ point about clones, but I think everybody knows this at this point, so it's not really worth mentioning. You take an egg, you pull out the chromosomes, you inject the nucleus from some good DNA from human cells, living cells, and bada bob, bada bing, you get a new human being clone, right?
So I actually did do an IQ point on it.
Oh, you
because
did?
Because I didn't know that.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
you're making me feel stupid. Well, everybody knows that. Well, I didn't.
It just seems so simple to me. Like when I was a kid, like all you have to do is like eject and then inject, and that's you get a new clone person. Like, but I guess it's harder than that. I just don't understand everything.
Well, so this was not an obvious thing for me, so that's why I did an IQ point on this one. So I wanted to look into, can Sheldon actually clone somebody with just saliva? And as you mentioned earlier, apparently not. And that's the answer. Short answer is no. You cannot do that. It was basically like what you said. If you're interested in cloning just in general, it's pretty much what Ryan said. You need the embryo. So in principle, human cloning is possible. Apparently we have been able to and have had the technology to clone human embryos for about 8 years now. But you need the embryo, not saliva. And that embryo has some DNA removed and replaced with another DNA, as Ryan said. And
eject and inject.
It gets electrically shocked to incorporate it, and then it starts to multiply. Or at least this information and method is transferable from the research done on Dolly, which is the sheep that was cloned. Mm-hmm. So nobody has officially cloned a human yet, and no one has tried. And I learned because there's really no point in doing it. There isn't any. There's a huge ethical dilemma around it. Scientists would need many, many, many embryos because the success rate is 10 to 20%. And then they would need to implant that cloned embryo into a person. And then the baby and the host would have to be tested on over and over again. So it's probably never going to happen, or at least no one is going to tell the public about it because of the ethics behind it. And also there's no point because it'll just be a genetic copy of that person. It's not the exact person. It's more like a twin. Mm-hmm. So all that stuff, like in the sci-fi movies, like pretty much the entire basis of Star Wars, somehow Palpatine returned. Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew. Not a real thing, because memories don't transfer.
Yeah. As of yet. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. But whenever Sheldon grows, it's not going to be Leonard Nimoy.
Although we get like I think the movie was The Island. It really was pretty bad. Where they're like cloning people and using them for spare parts, basically. And so maybe something with that.
A little Star Wars connection. It was Ewan McGregor's in that.
Yeah, I thought that was him.
Yeah.
But again, with the ethical dilemmas, and I mean, as far as this goes, every time, like, I believe, if you do believe or follow the principle that the fertilized embryo is a human being, you're basically ending that life and starting the life of the clone. And so it is, there's some ethics there. I don't know where I feel. And I also remember hearing about this, shout out if you know anything more about it, but there are signs of degradation to the DNA, like the Dolly, the sheep, right? Like was aging quicker than she was supposed to or something.
I didn't research any of that.
So there's, no, not a whole lot. There's a whole lot of issues and not a whole lot to be gained. I don't think it's a financially lucrative experiment.
Yeah, if anything, they should do the Dollhouse thing. Did you ever watch Dollhouse?
I never did.
Fucking so good.
I've heard good things
Joss
about
Whedon. It was only 2 seasons, but it was so good. And it's like super trippy too.
Yeah.
Basically, the premise is that there are these people that are in quote dolls, and then they basically use their body as like a shell where memories and like characters are implanted in their head, and they get to like fulfill people's fantasies or stop a crime. Like there's one episode where they actually implanted like a detective into somebody's body where they became that detective and they solved a crime. But then other times what they did was they took a man wanted a doll to have a one more day with his wife, his dead wife. So they implanted her memories into one of the dolls, and then he got to have one more day with his wife. So it's things like that, but it evolved as the storyline went on.
Yeah.
The evil corporation was trying to live forever by constantly implanting their mind into other people so they would live forever.
Oh.
So good.
All right, it's on my watch list. I'm gonna look this up. It says Hulu.
And Eliza Dushku.
That's what I remember. Eliza
not
Dushku.
Bad eye candy.
No,
just saying.
That's she was my favorite.
It's actually a lot of good eye candy in that show, guys and girls. So
whatever your cup of tea is, it's a good show.
Yeah. Great show. Oh man.
All right, so that was the cloning. And yeah, I admit there's more. I'm oversimplifying saying it's just injection because I don't think you can get like a any good old fashioned syringe and just inject DNA or eject. I don't know how it works.
No, you pick it up and you just flick at it.
You just suck it out.
Get out of there.
Like venom from a snake bite.
Get out of here.
Chromosomes. Okay, so yeah, Penny says she's only giving a napkin. Sheldon says he has to leave and runs away, says he'll be right back. And Penny gives her gift to Leonard, motorcycle lessons. Apparently the first step is learning how not to drop it, right?
Well, I also thought, like, did she pivot and get him that as like a new gift?
That I was kind of wondering that too, because she didn't know it when she had the two gifts when she came in, right?
So what'd she do with the other gift? Is she gonna re-gift it later on?
Ooh. Is it another napkin? Maybe she had two napkins from Leonard and
well, Leonard would want the signed
Leonard.
I don't know about the spit, but
and he gives her science kit for kids, and she doesn't laugh at first, but I thought it was kind of clever, kind of funny.
Yeah, because she loves science.
And then Sheldon comes out with all the baskets, and he's like, "It's still not enough." And goes over and hugs her, and I love this. Like, as far as a Christmas, like, and they say it's a Saturnalia miracle. Sheldon has finally gotten to the point where he wants to hug somebody or understands it. And I'm like, that is where Christmas episodes are all about. So loved it.
And I thought it was funny that like the whole conversation at the beginning of the episode about Saturnalia, Leonard was not present during that conversation. So he calls it a Saturnalia miracle. So it definitely means that he's had this conversation with Sheldon in the past.
That
so
didn't
he
even
knows
click,
about it.
But good catch. Wow.
They don't celebrate Christmas. We celebrate. Well, actually, no, they don't celebrate Saturnalia either.
But they're closer to celebrating Saturnalia than Christmas.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's it. That's the episode.
We did it. We got through this episode. Great episode. Let's tally up some IQ points. 8 IQ points.
You know, that one bonus point I got from my students calling me Leonard threw this off, but we are at 53 being not like Sheldon, 49 being like Sheldon. I feel like this is it's getting back up there. It's getting closer.
Yeah. Well, we're only halfway in the season 2, so we got a lot to talk about.
There's time.
Awesome. Anything else?
I think that's all for me. Just gotta say, love the holiday episodes. Love them.
I know. There should always be a holiday episode.
Every single
Is this a holiday episode that you would add to the rotation every year? as you rewatch holiday episodes.
I could do that. Yeah. Yeah, this is one that's going to stick out.
It's worthy. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's quite up there with Holiday Armadillo, but it's pretty close from Friends.
Yeah.
But it's pretty close.
Or Slapsgiving.
Slapsgiving. Oh, yeah. And I think
it's up there, though. It's good.
Frasier holds some spots in me for the Halloween episodes and for Christmas episodes. Or actually, Wings for Halloween episodes. Man, going back to Wings.
Oh, Wings. This has been a long time. I should rewatch that. I think it's still on Hulu.
It's epic. That was my sick show. Like, whenever I stayed home sick, the USA had 2 Wings episodes. And at like 10 in the morning, I watched them both. I'm like, I'm sick, but I'm loving it.
Yep, love Wings. Is Frasier still available for streaming right now?
I think so. I don't know where though.
Because I'm almost done watching The Office again, and I just plowed through Mythic Quest again. Like that, I actually did back to back. I watched it again, just in the background, and then I just cycled through it again. It's like a warm blanket. I love Mythic Quest.
It's such a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frasier's supposed to be on Hulu.
All right, I'm adding that next.
I got Dollhouse to watch.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Please remember to leave us a review on Apple. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Gingerly tap that like button. Follow us on Instagram at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Shoot us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time when we talk Season 2, Episode 12, The Killer Robot Instability. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl, and our logo is by John Kim. Thanks for listening. Happy Saturnalia, you troll.
Yeah, troll.